Hey guys, welcome back. It is April 16th and we are going to do more work on Hyatt's case RC. Apologize for my voice, I'm a little bit under the weather, but it's probably because of all the work I've been doing as far as double shifts go at the prison. But anyway, my plan of attack is we gotta get the hood back off. I've already drained the coolant. I've got my engine hoist here, so we're going to jack it up, take the front wheels off because the hand crank stuff is easier to deal with without the front wheels on. Hood off, pull the radiator back out so we can work on the hand crank mechanism, and then from there, once that's done, I have to take the brakes apart, clean those out, put them back on, because there's so much rust and crap in there that it's just, everything's kind of binding and locking up. So we'll take those apart, get them cleaned out, put them back on. We have to adjust the clutch, we have to adjust the governor linkage. We have to install the new oil gauge, oil pressure gauge in line. And there's one more thing we got to do. I have to drill holes in that linkage I made for the magneto advanced retard lever that goes onto the back of the magneto, and then the actual hand lever goes up to the dashboard. So I have to drill holes in that for cotter pins and paint it. Other than that, I mean, it's really minor stuff that we're doing. The clutch adjustment shouldn't take long. You know, the oil pressure gauge, that won't take long. Brakes, I'm not sure. Like I said, there's a lot of rust and a lot of junk in there, so hopefully that doesn't take long to take care of that. The hand crank mechanism, I've got some ideas on what I'm going to do with that, but I haven't really looked at it extremely close, so we'll see what happens with that. But let's get started. Pull the exhaust, air cleaner pipe off, pull the hood off, get the front wheels off, and then we can pull the radiator out and go from there. So let's get started. Okay. Just working on getting all the hoses loose here. I've already drained the system and pulled the lower hose off, so put the fuel cap back on so we don't get any junk in there. Okay. Now we'll get the front wheels off. I gotta go grab my floor jack real quick. We managed to get another 3 or 4 inches of snow a couple nights ago. So, winter isn't over yet. I also managed to hit another deer. That's 6 deer in 5 years. All right. Get a block of wood for the jack. And we're up in the air. Keep that bucket under there for now. Okay, should be 3/4, I think. It's always better to give yourself a little space to work. And I just realized I don't have the camera pointed at anything. So, let's move that down a little bit. All right. Now, I'll show you guys where the hand crank connects. Oops. Underneath here, this U-joint is bolted together. So, it's not the easiest to get to, but we can make it work. I'll probably pull these two out first, drop the crank down, and then should be able to get it out of there. Thing is, we got to separate this because the other rod goes through the radiator. So if this is connected, you won't be able to pull the radiator out because you'll just be pulling on the hand crank. So let's get that done. And that lock washer flew apart. So Have to find a new one of those, not a big deal. Got plenty of them. You know, for not having a clue about what I'm doing with this tractor, it sure comes apart quickly. But let's get that hand crank mechanism apart, and then we'll go from there. Gotta kind of work that hand crank rod back as you lift. And manipulate it around the fan a little bit. Okay. So, I'll show you guys part of the issue with these. This is both the same on an RC and an SC. But the teeth on the front of this pulley, it looks like somebody built one of them up with a little bit of weld here. But these teeth get rounded off. So what my idea is, I'm going to take a cutting bit and put it in a Dremel and kind of make more of a groove in this pocket on both of these, so that it has more of a hook to hang onto the teeth so they don't skip out. And then what we're probably going to have to do is take this shaft out. And I actually like this shaft better than the one that came with the other, because the other one is bent. So we'll have to take this shaft back out, and I'm going to put a new roll pin in the back of this shaft. And that'll help engage it with that pulley so it doesn't skip out. At least that's my thought. So that's what we're going to do with that. So, radiator's out. Let's get to work on that hand crank mechanism. Okay guys, I took a minute and put the oil pressure gauge on quick. I'll show you just real quick what I did. So here's your brand new case gauge. And on the back side, because it just mounts to this piece of steel here, I cut the studs off because it's kind of a universal gauge. They make it to fit a R series, D series, S series case. So I cut the mount studs off the back, ran a new line, whoops, up here, down to here. I also adjusted the governor rod, and the way that they have it in the book is with the lever pulled all the way back, the throttle lever pulled all the way back. Here, I might as well just do it. There should be approximately 1/8 of an inch between the throttle lever plate here and the stop pin that's in the side of the throttle body itself. There should be about 1/8 inch gap there when it's pulled all the way back. So I've got that set. And with it at idle, you should have about 9 inches from the front of this casting here to the end of this casting here. Should be about a 9-inch length. So I've got that set, and it was just a matter of adjusting things so that, you know, turning this bracket a little bit, loosening this jam nut, turning the bracket a little bit so it's not rubbing it up against the air cleaner pipe here. So you'll have to excuse me, it's getting kind of late and I've had to take a lot of breaks today, and this sickness isn't helping much. So what else? Throttle is done as far as I can tell, and then I'll show you what I did with the worn teeth on the front of the crankshaft pulley for the hand crank mechanism here. So if you look, these teeth are what get worn. They should have a slight hook to them. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's a slight, almost like a half of a hook in here, if I'm not getting that bolt in the way here. But there's a little bit of a hook here on both sides. What I did was I took this carbide bit, I believe it's a, let me look at the package here. I borrowed these from Cody over at Indegard Acres. Carbide burr set. So I took this bit in a drill and I just basically ground away, or filed away if you will, both sides. There's a tooth on either side, if you guys can see that. There's a tooth on either side here. So I ground away with that burr bit on both sides, and then I took a long 3/8 bolt to ensure that it would engage in there properly and not jump out with some wiggling. And for further measure, I took a 3/8 drill bit and ran it through back and forth just to make sure that it was as straight across as I could get it. So we should be good with that. Now, that portion of the hand crank is done, but we have to finish this portion. See, this should be a round piece of steel to the best of my research. That this cross pin here, this cross pin right here should be a round piece of steel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that off, because I highly doubt I'm going to be able to drive that out of there. So I'll cut it off and I'll smooth it out as best I can, round it out, and then I'll drill a cross hole through here and drive a roll pin through there, similar to what you would find on like a Farmall H or M. So that's what my plan is for that. I think I'm going to just reuse this piece here. I may end up driving this split pin out, and I was thinking about putting an extra washer in here to put some more tension on this spring so that it kind of pulls the rod out with a little bit more tension, so it's not sitting there, you know, bouncing around off the end of that crankshaft. So we'll see. But let me get this portion cut off, and then we'll go from there. Okay, I got that pin cut off, drilled a new hole. I drilled it one size under 5/16 for now because I'm not exactly sure the exact size I need to drill it for the split pin, so I went one size under 5/16. And I'm pretty sure this is a 5/16 split pin or roll pin, whatever you want to call it. But I think we're going to leave this thing in because
there's quite a bit of tension on it already. So we'll leave this in. I'll go pick up a split pin for that, 5/16 split pin, and then double check the size. May have to drill it one size bigger and drive that in, and then the radiator can go back in, and we'll check the operation of this. That's pretty much it, I think, for this. So next, what I think we're going to tackle is adjusting the clutch, and this is actually very similar to Minneapolis Moline. Let me get a light here. See, I don't know if you guys can see very well, but if you look just above that clutch finger, there's a little rod sticking out right at the end of my finger. You pull that rod back, and then that disengages. It's basically a locking pin, and that disengages the collar so that you can turn it clockwise to tighten the clutch or counterclockwise to loosen the clutch. So we're going to go ahead and pull that back, turn it a couple teeth, test it, and check the over center snap. And then if we're good, we'll just leave it where it's at. So that's how we're going to adjust the clutch.
Hey guys, welcome back. It's probably about a week later. I've been fighting a major sinus infection and pink eye and all these other things this week, so I'm still quite a bit under the weather, but I want to try and get this thing buttoned up here, this RC, and see how it runs now that we adjusted some things and hopefully got the hand crank figured out. I'll show you what I got going with the hand crank itself. So I drilled out the pin that was in there, and it was so worn. I ground it smooth, first of all, cut it off and ground it smooth, and it was a round pin, but it was so worn that it was worn into a square peg. So I drilled that out and put a new roll pin in here. I decided to leave the spring tension where it is. I thought about putting an extra washer in there to add some extra tension on that spring, but I'm just going to leave it where it is because there's quite a bit of tension on there. So it should be fine the way it is. So I'm going to go ahead and put this radiator back in and put the front wheels back on. The clutch, I did adjust one notch and it tightened up quite a bit. I'll show you guys here. So hopefully that doesn't slip anymore. The oil gauge, the oil pressure gauge, that's on. The new line is ran, so hopefully that is done leaking. The last thing we have to do is clean out the brakes. There's quite a bit of crud in there. I'm not sure how these brakes come apart, but we'll figure it out as we go. So let's get this radiator put back on, the front wheels put in, or put on, and go from there. Like I said, I apologize. I'm a little sick, so I'm going to do the best I can to get this all done. So. It's kind of a trick to get this thing in here. By yourself, especially when you're sick. But it can be done. The engine hoist makes it much more tolerable, because I would bet that this radiator probably weighs in the neighborhood of over 200 pounds. And she's stuck. Good job.
hopefully that's the last time we have to do that. Once again, I'm ill-prepared, not having the proper wrenches. Wouldn't expect anything less out of me though, would you? Just held in by 2 bolts at the bottom. So, all right. Just a matter of getting these clamps on the top hose, putting the bottom hose in place. But first, let's double check this. Oh yeah, that's gonna work great. I don't know if you guys can see the way that pin is engaging in there. That's gonna work much better. All right, well, one thing fixed. Moving on to the next. All right, you wanna help me?
Yeah.
Come here. Ready? Here. Can you put that in the hole? Put that in there. Good job. Want Daddy to help you? Here. Good job. Can you put this one in the next hole?
Yeah.
Can you put it in that one? Yep, put it in there. Got it?
Got it.
All right. One more. Can you do one more? All right, put it in that one. All right, Daddy help you?
Yes.
All right. Here, you want to use the gun? Want to use this? Come here.
No.
You can do it. Okay. Doesn't like the gun. Yeah, it's loud. Okay.
There.
All done. Okay. Can you stand back? Stand over here. Okay, watch. Watch Daddy drop it down. There we go. Is that pretty cool?
Yes.
All right. High five. All right. All right, let's test out this hand crank. That's how it should work. No jumping. Just pulls right over, keeps it hooked, and kicks it out when it rotates back. Perfect. Put the coolant back in it, and then we can move on to the brakes. Okay, well, it's all back together. I didn't disassemble the brakes, I just took the covers off, and whoop. Basically what it was there was a bunch of old grease and oil and rust all collected in the bottom of this drum here, and it was causing that pad to get jammed up against the drum itself. So I just scraped all that out of there that I could, and I think we got it pretty well set. So we'll set the magneto all the way up is off, all the way down is full advanced, so we'll go somewhere in the middle. Come over here and turn the fuel on. If I can, well, maybe I can get to it better from the other side. There we go. Okay. Full choke. Give it about half throttle. Let's see if we can get it to go. Should be going any second here. I don't have anything coming out of the bottom of the carb yet, so. We got fuel to the carb. Try giving it more throttle, I suppose. Whoop. Turn the choke off. Let's go about half throttle. Not bad. Each one of these. Well, unfortunately, this part of the video is where my microphone transmitter had died, and I'm just going through talking about how each tractor is different. You know, you got to really figure out the quirks and how each one of them starts, whether it wants full choke or half choke, full throttle, half throttle, 3/4 throttle, and it's really a trial and error game when you get into these, you know, at the early stages of trying to start them up. So what I usually do is I do a full choke, about a half or 3/4 throttle, until I get either gas dripping out of the carburetor or I get some type of popping out of the exhaust. Then I will shut the choke off, maybe back off the throttle just a little bit, put it back down to half throttle, and I'll keep cranking until we get something. And usually that suffices, but not always. Sometimes you flood the heck out of them, or you have to actually prime the engine through the spark plug holes, or if they have priming cups, sometimes you can do it that way as well. Just taking it out on a first drive here, running through all the gears. Right now we're in first gear, everything's going well. Something I've noticed about this particular tractor, I don't know if it's a common thing on all RCs or if it's just maybe worn bearings or something, but there's a pretty significant growl in the gearing. But it's not the end of the world. This tractor is probably mostly going to be a show tractor and just something fun to use. And If you saw that jerk there, I was just testing the brakes and they both work very well. This thing stops on a dime, so the brakes work very well. This is second gear switching into, and everything seems to still work just fine. Tractor idles smooth, runs great. Carburetor probably needs a little bit of fine tuning, but as far as a first start, it runs pretty darn well. So giving it a little load going up a small hill and didn't miss a beat. So turn it around here, and then I think we're going to stop and put it in third gear, which again, third gear works great. The clutch adjustment seems good and tight. I don't have any slipping like we did prior to when I pulled it out of the garage the first time and tried to go into the snowbank. It was slipping pretty bad. So I think just moving that collar in the clutch one notch really helped. So the tractor is actually running very well and drives very well. Steers a little harder than my SC, but the RC has a little bit smaller diameter steering wheel, so you don't get as much leverage. And for those of you who don't know, the RC is the predecessor to the SC. So it's kind of neat that, we have both tractors, the early version of the SC and the later version of the RC. So you're kind of looking at the transition period from the late RC into the early SC when we park them next to each other. Kind of neat, but just checking out the idle of it. I know I do have to adjust the idle a little bit. It's probably set a little low right now. I believe the manual calls for an idle speed of about 400 RPM, so I don't have an RPM gauge to test that, but that is what it calls for. At this point, we're just going to turn the tractor around and get it parked. Actually prepping the garage space now to pull in Tony's 1929 John Deere GP, so we're going to get that in the shop and start working on that thing, see if we can save another one. So Hyatt, if you're watching, I hope you're happy with the results. I'll get another video out of the tractor running and driving with an active microphone. So that's pretty much going to do it for this video. You guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for wrenching with me. And as always, take care and hope you guys enjoyed. Hyatt, I hope you're excited and happy to take this tractor back into your possession and give it a tropical life in Florida. Take care, everybody.